Also with us, NBC News foreign correspondent Ayman Mohyeldin, and on Capitol Hill, chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Republican Congressman Mac Thornberry of Texas, and in Washington, former CIA station chief of Islamabad, Pakistan, and former director of the CIA Counterterrorism Center, Robert Grenier. He's out with the book, 88 Days to Kandahar, a CIA Diary.
Let's go to the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee first. Mac, great to see you. What is I would call you Mr. Chairman instead of Mac this morning. Mr. Chairman, what's your response to the horrors that we saw yesterday out of Jordan, and does it have an impact on U.S. foreign policy moving forward?
Well, I hope it has an impact, because that sort of cruelty is pretty much unimaginable for most of us. But I think it's important to remember that we're not the target audience. They're in a competition with al-Qaeda. They are looking to recruit to see who can be the worst of the worst and attract people to its distorted ideology. And so for someone to say, oh, this is revolting, this is about ideology, doesn't really get to the heart of the matter, because it's not through our eyes that they are concerned about.
You know, that's a fascinating insight. And Robert, let me bring you in right here. We were talking earlier about how there were times when bin Laden and Zawahiri were actually telling Zawahiri back in 2005, 2000, hey guys, cut it out. This is over the line. You're going to actually turn off Muslims. You're hurting the cause. And here you have a death cult that has looked at Zawahiri as one of their heroes, apparently doing the same thing now that they did with the Jordanian wedding bombing in 2005.
Well, that's what they always do. I mean, these are people for whom those sorts of brutal tactics are just instinctive. And as you mentioned, there was a big debate between Ayman al-Zawahiri back a number of years ago when Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the head of the organization from which ISIS then sprung later, and telling him that he was alienating large elements of the Muslim population. And, of course, Zarqawi would not listen to him.
Mr. Chairman, what we've seen is another element of the end game of a cult of extreme violence and insanity, actually, from ISIS with yesterday's burning to death of the Jordanian pilot. How would you propose to combat this element of violence, which is so extreme to be preposterous? How would you propose to combat this?
Well, in the short term, I think there are two things we've got to do. One is to support the Jordanians. Our committee met with the king yesterday. He gave us kind of a laundry list of things he needs, like fuel and munitions and equipment. And he expressed frustration that it takes so long for our bureaucracy to get something approved to get to him. So that's a first and immediate step. Secondly, I think we need to support the king and President Sisi in Egypt when they try to encourage other national leaders and Muslim clerics to reclaim the Muslim religion and to isolate these people who have distorted it so much and in a way reduce their recruiting appeal. Finally, we've got to accelerate our efforts in Syria and Iraq. The best thing we can do is to show some victories here versus this cult, as you say, which has really still got the momentum, even though we've been bombing them from the air for several months.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. Always great to talk to you, Mac. We'll see you on the Hill very soon.
Thanks, Joe.